The use of e-cigarettes is not only habit forming, but it's also dangerous. And here with the alarming new stats is Dr. JJ. Thank you.
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
You have drawn an audience with this because there's a lot of questions and speculations about e-cigarettes. What are these things, and why are they dangerous?
Well, I'll tell you, we've got a little clip here. I just want to show you one particular reason why they're dangerous. They're battery operated, they overheat, or they're overcharged. This young man's pants
Oh my God!
just went on fire. Now,
What?
that was a spontaneous combustion. Imagine if that cigarette was in your mouth. Okay?
Oh my God.
No tobacco cigarette could do that, but actually e-cigarettes have been known to do this. So this is the worst case scenario of a battery gone bad. But I'll tell you, how these things are constructed. They basically have a battery pack, which is usually rechargeable. And then there's an aerosolizer here, which basically takes your nicotine-containing liquid that also has things like propylene glycol in it, formaldehyde, alcohol, vaporizes it so that you can inhale and exhale nicotine-based liquid, which is very addictive as cocaine and heroin.
So wait, what? Why do people just go back to cigarettes then?
Right.
Which
Well,
they thought
no,
this was going to be the
better for you.
I got to tell you, when these things came on the market, initially marketed to people who were trying to quit smoking or as an alternative to smoking. But very quickly, the tobacco companies realized that if they made flavors like candy and cola and fruit, because it wasn't considered a tobacco product, they could market to young kids. So what's happened over the last several years is that now up to 3 million middle and high school children use e-cigarettes. It's called vaping on a regular basis. And the big tobacco companies actually spent a ton of money marketing at festivals, giving out free samples, making them available on the internet. But soon that's all going to change.
But wait, can I go back in history? I'm just going to pull this out because I remember way back in the day when cigarettes were everybody acceptable. You'd see them on TV shows and doctors.
Everywhere.
Didn't they market to kids sort of the same way with cigarettes? How cool it was. In fact, there was cool for the Camel.
Yeah, when we grew up, that was the case. And then decades passed, and we found out that 450,000 people a year die from nicotine and cigarette-related illness in this country. So suddenly there's an aha moment saying, you know what, we really can't do that. We've got to pull back. So there's so much unknown about this because it's a new form of recreation.
What's interesting is I thought, personally, that these were better for you than smoking cigarettes. That's how they seem to market them as being safer than a cigarette, and that's why people should smoke these, is what they're saying.
Right.
So that's not true, is what you're saying.
It's true, and it's not true, sorry.
Great, thank you.
I'm so confused. No, so they were marketed as a safe alternative. The problem is that where they were manufactured was in China by multiple manufacturers. There was no regulation, there was no oversight, or nobody overseeing the process here. And what we found out now is that through several studies over the last couple of years, the kids who start vaping or smoking e-cigarettes without having any prior cigarette experience are 3 times more likely to start smoking real cigarettes a year later. Nicotine, because it is addicting, if kids are taking nicotine and their brains are still developing, it can affect neural development in an adverse way. Cardiovascular health is impaired, and some of the formaldehyde and aldehydes that are in there are human carcinogens. They have been described as that. So if you're starting this habit very early and you're addicted to nicotine, even though it may be less toxic than a cigarette, you may have a lifetime of really negative impairment.
But there's so many other things that are in it versus like the patch or something.
Right, yeah, because in the studies that have compared this technology to quitting tobacco, they've compared it with nicotine patches and with all the other pharmacologic variations on this, and it's no more effective. And so we can't really call it out as anything but a behavioral habit, right? Because you put it in your mouth and you.
Well, then start eating lollipops. I don't know what to tell you. but what new regulations is the FDA implementing now? Because I know there's some.
Really, and that's right. And this is good because the loophole that they have found is that nicotine in these, the only place you can get nicotine is from tobacco. So it is now considered a tobacco product and falls under all the FDA regulations as of August 8th. So what will happen is that kids under 18 cannot buy it in a store without showing a proper ID. They can't buy it in a vending machine unless that vending machine is housed in an adults-only facility. And the manufacturers have 2 years to disclose all the ingredients that are in the nicotine, because this may vary from a milligram of nicotine to 70 milligrams in a ml.
Disclosed in the labeling?
On the labeling, and also if there are any off-gassing ingredients that are hazardous to human health, they are required to label that too, and they have to register their manufacturing facility for the e-cigarettes.
What about online?
And online, it's a vast black hole, really,
That
because
is.
proving your age online is as simple as entering a birth date that's not yours.
Who here either has or knows somebody who has struggled with trying to quit smoking or
Oh, I
has
think we all
run
know
into, right?
somebody,
So you know how difficult that can be. What are your thoughts on
It's going on at my house, and I'm thinking now we've got to change that too.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, it's alarming because it's been sold to us as sort of this safe thing. Anybody?
Right. Well, I've heard of these, the watermelon or strawberry. So you think that it's not nicotine based. Yeah, it sounds like maybe you're just putting air in your mouth instead of a piece of candy.
No, but you've got this complex chemical interaction with heavy metals and formaldehyde and things that literally, if they go through your stomach, your body's able to break them down and process them. But through your lungs, it's direct absorption into your circulation.
So wait, I'm
it's
a
almost like
little confused on
freebasing, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm a little confused on something. Then I thought tobacco was bad for you, but nicotine necessarily wasn't. That it was the tobacco.
Well, nicotine is the piece that keeps smokers smoking.
Okay.
That is the addicting part, okay? Then you have tar and carbon monoxide, which are the process from smoking, which are bad. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But there are some things present in these and some things we will find out that will be present in these that are not present in cigarettes, and we haven't had enough experience to know over time what that's going to do. And I told you this morning there's a flavor, something in the flavoring called acetaldehyde, that when people make the popcorn butter from the theaters, the people who work in these facilities who manufacture these acetaldehydes get something called popcorn lung. It's like chronic lung disease. And that acetaldehyde is present in many of the flavors. So you're again directly inhaling it, and we just don't know.
There's whole bars open now. You
that
drive
are
by
vape bars. They're in
Hey, it's a
stores
cool thing.
everywhere.
Industry. It's a huge
And because,
industry.
as a kid growing up, my dad smoked, and we'd be in the back seat of the car going.
And you can smell the smoke. These don't even smell.
You go into those bars and they're not.
So
wow.
it's really approach with caution. I mean, yes, auspiciously and outwardly, it looks like it could be fun and recreational, but realistically, there's a whole lot of focus on this area right now because we don't want those kids that are going to enter into a long life. We want them to be in a tobacco-free generation.
Is there such thing as secondhand vaporing?
We don't know. And again, but
interesting. I didn't even think of that.
But the airlines and Starbucks and several other big restaurant chains have basically said, we're not going to tolerate this in our area either because we don't know.
Good.
We don't know.
Oh, Dr. JJ, you were always such a wealth of information. I love it when you were here.
Good